Hey everyone, welcome to Creepy InQueeries,
a podcast dedicated to all things creepy, spoopy, and true crimey.
With your hosts, Miss
and Kevin,
your friendly neighborhood queers.
Let's dive Well, how are you, my dear?
Oh, I'm doing very well.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. We deserve it. What are you drinking?
Oh, just my usual. Just a Cab Sauv. Just a dark, dead, dry red.
Dark, dead, dry red.
Right. How was your week?
My week has been great. Ben and I did our engagement photo shoot earlier this week. And we got the photos back so damn quickly. And they turned out really well, if I say so myself.
They turned out so good. I got a sneak peek, and they are just so cute. I could vomit.
I would love to watch you vomit from the cuteness.
Here in my seat.
I am loving this moment. Tell me more things really good about me.
I could projectile vomit.
Like Paul Rudd and I Love You, Man.
With how much I love the pictures. I think that's really just the gist of it.
Yeah, it just sounds like you are very enthused and very vomitous.
I'm very enthused in a violent way. Right?
And right now, the day that this comes out, Miss, our lovely co-host, is going to be sitting in a classroom taking her bar exam.
God,
so whatever you're doing right now, what you are listening to, send us a DM on Instagram, send us an email at creepyinqueriespod.com. Just
tell
give
us how
her
much
some
better
good
your
luck.
life is than mine. Yes, thank you in advance for any good luck.
Yes, because Miss is my hero.
Oh, shut
and
up.
I am so excited for her. You get it, future Miss. You get it, future Miss.
Thank you. I appreciate the support, which I'm happy with.
Burn her.
I did. It is so funny that you just said that, and you will see.
Oh my God,
later.
why? Oh my God,
You'll
yes.
See.
Fuck yes.
But yeah, I mean, any well wishes are welcome. And if you're listening to this and you're taking the exam in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
No, we are their emotional blankie right now.
We are?
Yes.
Sorry we're so prickly, guys.
Yeah, we're like a wool
such an
blankie.
Itchy blanket.
Yeah. Like a thick woolen.
It's over. You'll never hear me talk about it again.
Yeah, you've done all you can. You've prepared all you could. You took all the necessary steps to do that. And the day has come.
The day has come and it has passed.
We love you.
Thanks. I love you too. Do we have anything we want to plug or...
I mean, we are very excited for some things that are happening in March. I can tell you guys that.
Yeah, but it's still in the planning stage.
It's still in the planning stages, but, because we started doing this podcast, we've been meeting so many fun people around the country.
Around the internet?
Over the interwebs. And we've been connecting with people. And we have some things lined up down the pike. And that could involve some crossovers with other podcasts. You never know. Who knows?
You never know. It could be that exact thing.
Could be that exact thing. Sure. Time will tell.
It's a mystery.
But all the same, we're so excited. We love doing this too. And we are on episode 14.
Yeah. Like I said before, this show has really been my haven during this stupid studying for the bar. So can't thank you enough, Kevy. Oh, so in my distraction, in my mental health weekend, I started watching old seasons of Rue because I can't get new ones. So I just started rewatching season 8, and it's so good. It's it is a balm to my soul. Even the queens that I don't like and I never liked.
And you can drop their names right now. Drag them. Go ahead.
What's her name with the coochie?
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo, whatever.
Cynthia Lee Fontaine.
I want to throw her tiny
Are you
body.
ready for my cuckoo?
No. Why do you say that? What is that? You say I'm worried about a chicken coming after me the way you say it. But I just love that show. It's such good. It
is
total, just like relaxation nonsense. It's like, I don't like reality TV or like competition TV shows. This is the only one that I like.
And Bake Off. Which is, again, another balm for the heart.
My favorite show of all time, just British people making
Have you ever listened to
nice
Trixie Mattel talking about Paul Hollywood?
No.
So I got to find you the clip because
I can only imagine what she would say about Paul Hollywood. And I'm going to guess that the word silver comes up a lot.
A good bit. Oh, yeah.
Silver.
Need me because I need you.
Need me with a K. Need me with a K, Paul Hollywood.
Now, she doesn't say that. That I just made up. And
no, that's what Kevin
I want
says.
credit for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all Kevin. So I've been doing that. Bob's on there, and
Bob is such a great
Bob's just
person.
great from the beginning.
Yes.
Do you know who I forgot about? Acid Betty. How fucking, like, how number one, she's incredibly talented, whatever, but she's just caustic. She's just horrible. She cannot interact with other human beings. It's upsetting to me.
And I don't know how much of that.
Though.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. And I don't know how much of that is the editing of the show itself and the footage or whatever. But you are absolutely right. She did get that edit that year as
she did.
Win at all costs queen.
Well, I don't know how much of it is editing because she openly says it like multiple times.
Yes. Don't blame the edit. She says what she says.
Right. I'm just pulling a RuPaul because that's what she always says. Don't blame the edit.
She has a whole song. She has a whole song called Don't Blame the Edit. Yes. And
is it called Don't Blame the Edit?
It is. And queens were like, are you seriously joking? Or is this a joke? Or are you serious, Mama?
I have 100 people. I have 100 people who will tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Mama Rue.
Way more since then because there's been like 7 more seasons.
Yeah, I just said 100 because the first episode of season 8 is like the 100th episode.
Hell yeah. But that's such a great season. And it has Chi-Chi. We love Chi-Chi.
Oh, I know. I forgot. Like, they went through all the queens, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I like Bob, and Thorgy's really good at the beginning before she just...
I know, Thorgy, but I like Thorgy just because she is...
I like her.
So... Yeah, nutso.
I really do. And I'm so glad you've all tuned in to our 7-year delayed recounting of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 8.
Which they didn't know they were getting. Yep.
You didn't know you were getting, but it's for free.
They thought they were just going to tune into an episode 14, and they are getting a Season 8 recap.
You're getting a 7-year-old recap episode. But no, I really like Thorgy. I think she's very talented, and like I'm captivated just by the way she moves her body, just like how easy it is for her. It just seems so natural.
Have you seen the episode yet with the mini challenge where they were all playing Supreme Court justices and they make up their own laws? Okay.
I mean, obviously I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
That episode or that mini challenge does make me laugh a lot because I do remember Bob cracking up over Cynthia's like words she puts in.
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then Thorgy's was also funny too. I do remember that.
I remember the challenge. I don't remember anything individually, but yeah. And then who else? Oh, I forgot how much I liked Naomi Smalls.
Yes, she is definitely
she's so
she's
pretty.
Georgina.
It's not fair.
She's so
She's
gorgina.
just like 3 mile legs and 7-inch heels. And you're just like, great, okay. Fine.
She has, let me quote her. She has legs up to her asshole.
You mean like everyone with legs?
Like everyone with legs?
Like everyone who has legs up to their asshole. Well, no, we can't say everyone. Not everyone has legs.
No, presumably. No. Everyone with legs have legs that go up to their asshole.
Yes. Everyone who has legs.
There's nobody that has like a missing section of legs that end somewhere else besides their asshole.
Between the hips and the ankles. No, it's not possible.
Mine juts out from my hip bone. No, it doesn't. It goes up to your asshole.
No, it doesn't. It goes up to your butthole. But yeah, so that's been a very nice distraction for me.
So episode 14.
We are here. 14.
I couldn't be more excited and just so ready to tell you the story.
I'm ready. I'm so excited. I love when I get to listen. I love it when it's my week to digest it.
And my intent was trying to make you feel visceral. I want you to walk away from this experience feeling uneased.
Great. Well, fine. I'm just going to cuddle. I'm just going to literally spoon my cat this whole time then.
That is so good. And before I start, I just wanted to invite everyone to click download, subscribe, send us a rating. Before I dive into this video, I'll wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yes.
Oh my God. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. All right. Now I'm going to start.
Now I'm excited.
All right, miss. We've all been home alone on a weeknight, right?
Yeah,
Settling into the this is going to be so much better then. Settling into the couch with a cozy blanket and a fluffy cat, getting ready to watch a few episodes of your favorite TV show. Fine. You know, you finished all of the work that you needed to do that day. You cleaned the dishes, you folded your laundry. Everything is done that you needed to do to feel contented and relaxed.
Yeah.
And that's when you heard something in the next room. You could have sworn it was a footstep, but
cat?
You live alone?
Sound footstep. I don't know.
You must have heard something else. You're not going to let that take you away from your relaxation and your cozy cup of tea and your Paul Hollywood.
I hate you so much.
I didn't gear this towards you at all. So you continue on with your evening and you decide to feel good and so happy that you have an evening to yourself when everything has been done and you don't have to worry about anything. After you've watched TV, you stand up from the couch to put your dishes in the kitchen.
I'm getting very nervous.
When you hear something else again... This time it's different. This time, holy shit. Could there really be someone in my house right now?
No, what?
Your heart starts pounding. You're trying to think about everything you've ever learned from true crime documentaries to survive. Your heart pounds harder. You think, no, fuck this. I'm going to take my power back. I'm going to confront this intruder and defend myself. Your breathing gets heavier. But you muffle it with your hand to not give yourself away. You approach your bedroom down the hall, slowly, deliberately.
Hate.
You're galvanized to fuck someone's shit up right now.
Okay, got my bat.
You think as you approach, wait, the only place a human could conceivably hide in my room is in the closet.
Fuck.
Nothing can fit under my bed. I don't have any other corners to hide behind. It's my closet. And that's when you race into your room, you fling open the closet doors, ready to fight back, and that rustling noise turns out to be your cat trying to get into your shoe boxes. You take a tremendous...
I am relieved.
You take a tremendous sigh of relief. You think to yourself...
relieved, Kevin.
How crazy was I just now? I seriously thought there was some some lunatic hiding in my closet. That definitely was what it was. Even though it was statistically low enough to not really ever occur. But sure, that's probably what it was. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was, right?
So why is that? Why do we always get huge rushes of relief when we find out that noise was just, a cat or something? I'm asking that rhetorically. Just something to, ponder while I start the story.
Okay. Ponder.
So today, my love, I'm going to tell you the very bizarre tale and truly terrifying story of a teenager named Daniel LaPlante. Have you heard of him?
Fuck. Yes, I have.
You have. Yes.
Oh God.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
I knew I couldn't get you. I knew you probably had heard of him.
Oh, I hate it, though. I hate it. I'm just going to turn on an extra light now.
Yeah, she's walking away to turn on an extra light in her house right now.
I hate everything.
Are your doors locked, miss?
Yes, Kevin. There's only one door and it's locked.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Shut up. I'm on the 4th floor. The door's on the 1st floor, so I'm not going to check.
Why would you need to?
Shut up. I hate you. God. Oh, God, Daniel LaPlante.
Yeah, so our story begins in the small town of Townsend, Massachusetts in 1986.
Oh, boy. Okay.
It's a tiny town in Middlesex. 1986. Yep. That's where our story begins. Fine. It's a small town in Middlesex County of about some 9,000 residents. And 3 of those residents were the Andrews family. Father, Brian, and 2 daughters, Annie, who's 16, and Jessica, who's 8. Somehow, Daniel LaPlante, age 16, obtained the Andrews phone number. And Annie began to converse with Danny over the phone, because literally that's what people did back in the 80s. And I had to think about that for a moment. I was like, why did someone just cold call a house and then strike up a conversation?
All the time. We used to do it
thing.
All the time. You and I did it with each other. We would just be like, well, I want to be friends with that person, so I'm going to call them at home. Yeah. And we'd be like, oh, hi.
Can I speak to Miss?
Yeah.
Hi, Mrs. Mom.
Yeah. God, it's so and what did we even talk about? We just
nothing. Not a damn thing. Kid things. But, you want to come over? No. Mom says we're making dinner. That shit. So
anyway, besides that utterly fascinating idea that we all did that.
We all just called
people. And it was expected.
It's the only way to do it. So LaPlante cold called the Andrews house and struck up conversation with Annie. Right. And he told her that he had been given their number by a friend who went to their same school, and that he was a football captain. He was good looking, athletic, tanned, blonde. And who wouldn't be wooed by that, And so Annie and Danny became well acquainted after several of their phone calls. Oh, I didn't even realize that until just now.
Annie and Danny. Okay, I'm into it now. I love a rhyming name.
And that's when they arranged to go on a date together. And Annie was so excited. Ooh, having just lost her mom recently to cancer, this was, probably something that became a sort of puppy love at a time in her life when she probably needed it the most. So she was very excited for it. Sure. And when she heard that knock on the door, she opened it up. And what was standing in front of her was not at all the tall, blonde, football captain dude he claimed he was over the phone. What was staring at her was a disheveled, greasy, smelly, acne-ridden, dark-haired boy. So regardless, Annie, being a good sport, still decided to go on the date, which was to the local fair. Wild, indeed.
Wild.
She thought, maybe he was just shy. Maybe he was insecure about who he was.
Sure, but he still lied to you.
He lied to you.
Ladies, you don't have to be nice.
You don't You don't have to give chances, but she gave this guy a chance.
No, that's fine.
But
I know the story, so it worked out. They got married and had 1,000 babies.
1,000 of them. 999, actually. Let's not.
I like to round up.
But just after over an hour together at their date at the state fair, Annie quickly made up her goodbye reasons and she rushed the hell home because that kid was so freaking awkward.
He wasn't Mr. Personality then?
He was not Mr. Personality. That was not puppy love at all. That was a scam job. She had been had.
Oh, no. That's a shame.
It was during this ill-fated date that LaPlante discovered Annie and Jessica had recently lost their mother. And he took an interest in Annie's mom's death that really didn't sit well with her. It was much more than simple curiosity that he was showing about it.
About the mom's death?
Correct. He was asking her a lot of kind of personal questions, and she was feeling super discombobulated and super awkward about it. You know, he was asking questions like how she felt at the moment she died and how much she may have suffered and crazy shit like that. Crazy shit.
God, what a creep.
Hell yeah. And he's 16.
So it's not like he doesn't know better.
Right.
And maybe he doesn't, but read the room, buddy.
So after Annie ghosted him, she just wanted to forget all about him and that goddamn awful date. And she did. She did.
Fine.
She went on with her life.
Good for her.
2 months later, Annie and Jessica were at home alone. Brian was now a single working father, so he was working a lot longer hours and he was not home as much.
Fair.
And that was when the girls began hearing a faint, delicate tapping sound in their bedroom walls. They couldn't figure it out. Where was that noise coming from? Was it the plumbing? Who the hell knows? They told their dad about it. They told Brian what they were hearing, and he just didn't seem to take the girls' stories as truth. You know, he was thinking,
Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
He was thinking, you know, in all the time that he's been in the house, he's never heard those noises.
So they just can't, then they're just not real then.
They're just not real if I haven't heard it. But to his credit, he did try to listen to it a few times throughout the days and weeks that followed their first bringing that to his attention. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But he still didn't hear anything. So when he would deliberately go in and stand inside their rooms and stand in certain rooms of the house, he didn't hear that tapping. He just chalked it up to them kind of acting out after their mom's death.
Okay.
But then things got stranger pretty soon after that.
Okay.
Another night when the girls were home alone, Annie and Jessica decided, what if those tappings that we're hearing is Mom? What if she's trying to contact us from beyond the grave? So they did a seance.
A seance?
They did a seance. And who could blame them? You know, if you're a kid, wouldn't you want to try everything and anything to reach out to a dead parent? I know I would.
Yes, I would.
And to their astonishment, it appeared as though the girls' seance was successful because they were starting to hear the taps, almost as if it was responding to their questions.
Okay.
So they genuinely thought that they were conversing with their mom beyond the grave.
Was it like, 2 knocks if you're mom, one if you're not kind of deal? Okay. Right.
And then this began a short spell of the girls getting out their Ouija board in their basement and communicating with their mom.
Full deal with the Ouija board.
Oh, yeah. They had the Ouija board, the whole thing. Absolutely. Okay. And those knocks, those taps, you know, they noticed as the weeks went on, the knocks and taps were getting louder. And they were even being kept up at night from the incessant noise coming from their walls.
And Dad still isn't hearing anything?
Nope.
Is Dad deaf?
Dad is, who knows? Was Dad oblivious? I'm not sure, but he just wasn't hearing it.
If it's keeping them up at night, somebody's got to hear it.
I guess. Maybe his room. I don't know how the house was laid out. Maybe his room was on the other side of the house or whatever.
From what I remember, this is a pretty big house.
Oh, then there we go. Yeah.
But I could be wrong. But yeah, I don't think it was a small house.
And then over time, along with the noises that they were hearing and the taps and the knocks, objects in the house began to disappear too. Items which were laid out on a table one day would find themselves strewn across the floor the next. The girls would come home from school and find furniture had moved from one side of the room to the other.
What?
Eventually, Jessica and Annie believed that they were being haunted by a malevolent demon and not the spirit of their mom that they originally believed. Because they dumb kids. They dumb kids.
Okay. Well, they're probably Catholic kids in the 80s. So maybe not dumb, but definitely Catholic. I'm surprised that no one else can hear it. I'm all right.
Yeah.
I would be freaked the fuck. I would probably not be in that house.
You and me.
Because the dad was like not never there, but he was working so much.
Exactly.
So they were home like what? At least most of the time after school. At least last days.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
And so Brian, again, believing that his girls were the cause of the havoc in their home, the girls went to him and said, I think we've unknowingly allowed a vengeful ghost into our home.
Oh no! Because they did the seance.
They did a seance. They're like, I think we released a demon, Dad.
Daddy, listen. We thought it was Mommy.
But it is not Mommy.
It is not Mommy. Mommy wouldn't do this. Mommy's being a real bitch.
And he, again, didn't believe them. They're like, maybe the one sister moved the chair before they went to school and the other one didn't realize that when they came home. Maybe.
Don't you think we talked about that, Dad?
Maybe that one sister ate the ham sandwich that was on the kitchen counter. I don't know. You girls are girls. It's as simple.
Oh, we're just stupid girls.
You're dumb girls.
No idea. We're just stupid idiot girls.
And so one evening in January of 1987, this strange knocking began while Jessica and Annie were alone in their front room. But at this point, the constant tapping had become so commonplace that it was driving them insane. And on that particular evening, it seemed that the noises were not coming from the walls like they had been, but from the basement. So being spooked the F out, Annie, who's the 16-year-old, grabbed a knife from the kitchen, and those two girls warily made their way toward the source of the noise in the basement. And as they crept down those stairs, there, written in bloody, bloody red on the basement wall, was a message that said, I'm in your room, come and find me.
What?
Yeah. Written in red, I'm in your room.
Like paint? Or like lipstick?
So the girls didn't wait around to find out what the fuck it was made from. They freaked out. Fair. They ran over to a neighbor's house, and that's where they called their dad and told him to rush home because they found something written on the basement wall. So he gets home, and he goes downstairs to the basement, and he discovers that it wasn't written in blood. It was written with ketchup.
Oh, okay, so that's fine.
That's fine.
It's not scary that it was written on the walls, not by us, if it's not blood.
So in his dad brain, he was like, wow, holy shit. My two girls have gotten out of control. These girls are not handling the death of their mom well. I mean, I didn't expect them to be lashing out like this, trying to get me to spend more time with them. And so
that's not an unreasonable conclusion, I guess.
No, not at all. So he had them go like counseling to help them cope with what he believed was the source of their like mental struggle, which was, grieving their mom. I guess he was trying to do a good dad thing.
No, I think he did the right thing for sure. I mean, he can't help how much he has to work.
Absolutely.
It sucks that it's impacting them, but.
Absolutely. And so he put them in counseling. Several weeks later, a similar incident played out, but with even more bizarre results.
After they had started counseling.
After the counseling, yes. So again, the girls started hearing the knocking sounds, but this time they were not coming from the basement. They were coming from behind Annie's bedroom wall. And when the two girls entered, they were greeted with a message in bloody red on the wall that says, I'm back. Find me if you can.
Fuck. What?
And of course, that would freak out anyone.
Yeah.
Annie and Jessica again, like they fled the house, ran to the neighbor's house, rushed to call Brian, and was like, the message was written again. You need to come home.
Yeah.
And so Brian was presumably pissed at that point. Yeah, annoyed. So he gets home. He marches straight into the house to prove that no one else inside. But oh no, when Brian entered the house, he found the house in disarray. Way more than what the neighbors and the girls claimed they had seen over the phone. Like things were crazy messed up. Chairs everywhere, couches overturned, all that shit. And it quickly became apparent to Brian that someone had been in their house after the girls were not in there.
How?
And then Brian entered Annie's room, and there was an additional message that had been painted on the wall that said, "Marry me." Yeah.
Marry me.
Marry me on Annie's wall. Now, this story has made the rounds over the decades. Obviously, Miss, you had heard about it already. It has gone through a game of telephone, so there's been a lot of speculation on how the next parts have transpired and what actually occurred.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's been switched up here and there, so we're not really entirely sure what exactly happened once Brian walked into the house. Some versions say that Brian found Daniel in the house wearing his dead wife's makeup and his dress and a blonde wig.
That's the version I heard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And some versions I saw he was dressed as like a Native American that was carrying a hatchet. I don't know.
Cool.
At this point, I don't know what truly transpired there and then, but Brian came across Daniel in the house. And there was a chase that ensued. There was a struggle. He tried to catch the kid. Yes, but LaPlante evaded him. It was like he ran into a room and vanished, essentially.
Ew. It's because he's a creep.
Yeah, he's a fucking creep. So when the police were called to investigate later that same evening, it became clear why LaPlante was able to vanish so suddenly, because the cops searched the house, and one officer found a hidden crawl space behind a cupboard, which was built into the wall of Annie's bedroom.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no! It's like he's in the room.
And when the officer opened up the hatch, there he was, curled up inside, and he may or may not have been wielding a hatchet. Again, stories, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's, pretty fucking shocking. Cops coming in and they find this kid in a crawl space. So they removed him and they placed him under arrest. And at that point, reports have varied on how long Daniel LaPlante was hiding in that house.
Oh, God.
Because if you remember, their first date was to the local fair, which is presumably usually in September-ish.
Yeah, August, September.
And this kind of started taking place in January-ish. So it's really, the jury is still out on how long he was actually in there.
He never said how long he was in there?
No. Some state that it was from several days, while other reports were saying as long as 2 months he was living there.
Heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it was a while.
Yeah, the cops found a range of things in the crawl space, including a sleeping bag, beer cans, and food wrappers, and some articles of clothing, which, may have been the dead mom's clothing. We're not sure. Just said articles of clothing in the news article I read.
Yeah.
But once the police did a more thorough search after they arrested him, they discovered that he was inside the walls of their home.
Oh, God.
There was a passageway that they discovered that he'd been using to go from room to room in the house.
God,
and there were and there was even a handful of peepholes dotted around the house.
No, it's so much worse.
Uh-huh.
So gross.
For what, 2 months? Some dude living in your house and you had no fucking clue.
Like, I know one thing. I'll never be safe. I'll never sleep again if that's me.
No.
I'll never be safe.
You call your landlord right now. Do I have fucking crawl spaces in this bitch?
Yeah, I got 2 guns clocked. I sleep with them in both hands. Like, you come into that room, you're dead. Like, I would never be okay again.
No.
And imagine how bad she must feel being like, oh, God, I went on the date with him. This is my fault.
And he knew where I lived because he picked me up from my house.
Because he picked me up from our date.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Don't ever let somebody pick you up from a date, people.
No. Meet at a Starbucks.
Like, minimum.
So this fucker, Daniel LaPlante, was supposed to spend up to a year in juvie detention, but he ended up being released after 9 months because during that time of his incarceration, he had turned 17 and his case was transferred from juvie to adult court, which was when he was able to post bail. His mother helped him post bail. So he was released around October of 1987, and this story took place when he was discovered around January of 87. Daniel was charged with 4 counts of armed assault in a dwelling, breaking and entering, and larceny of more than $100, as well as malicious destruction of property.
Yeah, okay.
He had his case pending when he was let out on bail in October, and that's where part 1 ends.
What?
Wait, miss, do you truly not know what happens next?
No, I didn't. What do you mean?
That's the only part of Daniel LaPlante that you know?
That he lived in the walls?
That he lived in the walls.
Yeah.
Shit. All right. Well, I was so going to keep that for...
second part?
Oh, God, yes. Yes. But before I talk about that and his actions post-release, let's talk. Does this story make your skin crawl, yes or no?
Yes. Obviously. He's like a human spider. Just living in your walls. And like he would like get out of the walls when they were like sleeping.
When they were sleeping.
Oh, yeah. God, that's so I don't know. It's not for me. And
this phenomenon is called frogging with a PH.
What,
Phrogging. No, frogging is the act of living in someone's house without them knowing. Basically. It's different from squatting. And it's frogging with a PH, and it's apparently Urban Dictionary defines it as like they're called frogs, PHROG, because they hop from house to house. There's a story that I read online where there was a homeless woman in Japan who lived in the closet of a spare bedroom of a single male for years before she was discovered.
Have you ever heard of the Spider-Man of Denver?
Yes, and I tossed myself between telling that story and this story because it was in the same video I saw. But that one, holy shit balls. Yeah, the Spider-Man.
I mean, he's so scary too. He's so scary.
I could smell him as I was watching the video.
Absolutely. He's so scary.
Yeah.
I do not know anything else about this story.
Good. I can't wait to dive into it then. So let's talk a little bit about his upbringing.
Yeah, I don't know any of this. I'm so excited.
So how did we get here? How did Daniel LaPlante's early life affect him and his subsequent actions? And cannot be great. And just a trigger warning for our listeners. I'm about to talk about some sexual abuse, and we will talk about rape later on in the story. I will preface that before I begin that part 2 as well. So LaPlante was born in 1970 in Townsend, Massachusetts, which is a small town in Middlesex County. He suffered as traumatic a childhood as anyone could probably imagine. Although very little is known in regards to the specific details of his upbringing, because when he first ran into the law and when this first happened with the crawl space shit, he was a minor, so a lot of that was kept anonymous. We do know that LaPlante suffered sexual and psychological abuse at the hands of multiple adults in his life, with his father being the worst offender of them. He struggled with school, both academically and socially.
I wonder
why. For a number of reasons. One, he was diagnosed with dyslexia. Another reason, he had few friends at school, and most of his classmates referred to him as like creepy or weird and smelly.
Yeah.
In his early teenage years, LaPlante was referred by school officials to a psychiatrist due to his abnormal behavior and general reluctance toward his appearance and hygiene. And that was when LaPlante was diagnosed with a hyperactivity disorder. And what's worse, I read in an article that psychiatrist who oversaw his diagnosis was also abusing him. Yeah.
I think I did know that part.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah.
In his early teens, LaPlante established himself as a small-time thief. You know, he didn't have any friends, so he spent his evenings breaking into people's properties in the Townsend area and stealing valuables.
I can almost make sense of it because you have to imagine he's not only like an outcast like at school, but I mean, he's an outcast at home. He never feels like he's in on the game, you know? He's not in on the conversation. And if he is, it's probably only for really terrible reasons. I can almost imagine like the, you know, quote unquote, anonymously viewing a family could be like, you know, it's a logical extension of that, I think. It almost makes sense.
Right.
When you think about it through that lens. Yeah.
Yeah. And during his small-time thievery, breaking and enterings of people's houses, he would be stealing some valuables. But as that progressed, his burglary skills kind of shifted, and not so much from burglary to torment. So by age 15, he was breaking into people's homes, not only taking their possessions, but he would also move items around in the house in such a way that it was clear for the occupants that someone had been in there, but not so much that it was immediately obvious.
So like a living poltergeist.
I legit was saying that same thing. I was like, he is like a poltergeist as a human. Yeah, he just goes in there, fucks some shit up purposely.
He's like a cat.
To play mind games with those residents. He wasn't stealing. He was just fucking with people at that point.
Which is worse. Just take it. I don't have time for these games. Take it.
I don't have time for that.
I have renter's insurance.
But like, could you fucking imagine if you woke up one day and you come downstairs to find out, like, you know, your dining room chairs are on top of your table or something, some shit like that.
I was just going to say, well, I would just blame it on my cats to make it myself feel better. But when you say things like the chairs are on top of the table, I can't really do that. So thanks for that.
Or even just like one chair, like 4 chairs would be crazy. But if there was like one chair that was on the table,
one chair would be more unsettling. One chair, I can respect the one chair. That's definitely more unsettling because you're like, did I start this?
Yeah.
And not finish it? Why would I start it? And then why would I not finish it?
Yeah.
It's great mind games. Good for him.
Yeah. Good for him.
Do it right. And he did it right.
So this dude, even as a teenager, a 15-year-old kid, was a terrifying menace.
Well, he was living in the house, in the walls.
Which leads us back to the beginning of our story where he had contacted initially Annie Andrews. It's believed that he may have found the Andrews' number during one of his many breaking and enterings, one of his beanies.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
He breaks into one of our friend's house and then he has her phone number.
So that's where we left off with the whole Andrews house, and he hid in the crawl space and he wrote on the walls, and then he was discovered by the father, and then he was arrested, and then he was put in juvie. He was released after 9 months. Right. So he was released in October of 1987. And almost immediately after he had been released, Daniel LaPlante took his criminality to an entirely new level. And shit's going to get a little gruesome from here. Oh, and when I say a little gruesome, I mean a fuck ton of gruesome. Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
Immediately after he was released, he was back on his shit. So during one of his breaking and enterings in November of 1987, LaPlante stole 2 handguns from a neighbor's house.
Great.
And then on December 1st, 1987... LaPlante broke into the Gustafson's family home around a half a mile from where his house is.
Okay.
And at that time, there was a pregnant Priscilla Gustafson, who was 33, and her 2 younger children, Abigail, who was 7, and William, who was 5. They were home. Priscilla's husband, Andrew, was at work when LaPlante started scoping out the place. And it was upon returning from work that Andrew was met with the most horrific sight of his life.
No.
Yes.
No. How do I not know this part?
Trigger warning, listeners. I'm about to talk about sexual assault and child murder. Skip ahead.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Andrew, the husband, walked in from work in the evening and discovered Priscilla laying face down on her bed. Her pillows dyed red with blood. She had been raped by Danny LaPlante and then shot multiple times point blank in the head. So Andrew walked in the house, heard no noise, which was strange because he has a 7 and a 5-year-old.
Right.
And walked upstairs to see what was going on, walked into the bedroom, found Priscilla, and immediately ran the fuck out of that house. And he called the police from a neighbor's house. He ran out.
I mean, were the kids dead?
He didn't know. He just knew, holy shit, if my wife was killed, they're probably killed too. I don't want to find them. So he ran out and called the police. And when the police came, that's when they discovered the bodies of the 2 children that were drowned in 2 separate bathtubs in the house. LaPlante's exact modus operandi, like in this murder, kind of remains unknown. You know, we can probably surmise that LaPlante's actions progressed from the burglary that he was doing earlier to full-on murder only when he was in possession of a weapon. You know, that suggests he didn't possess, he didn't kind of possess confidence or the physicality to subdue victims before he had a gun. I think once he found a gun, that kind of changed his trajectory of things.
The lack of weapon is what held him back from being a murderer before now?
I think possibly. I do think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
he
enough.
likely killed Priscilla first to remove the biggest threat of the household, which also is fucked up when you think about the kids maybe having to witness it. We're not sure. And I believe he came and attacked them at a time that the 5-year-old William was home with Priscilla, and the 7-year-old or 8-year-old, I'm sorry, Abigail, didn't come home yet from school. Police believe that he killed Priscilla and killed the son, and then when the daughter came home from school, killed her. And it didn't take long for authorities to link the Gustafson family murder with Daniel LaPlante.
You mean he wasn't super careful?
He wasn't super careful. And they found him at the local library the next day. They talked to him. They questioned him. And he said, I was nowhere near them. I don't know what you're talking about. So they left. But then later on that day, they did go to the LaPlante house to question him further. When they approached the home, Daniel, who was standing on the porch at the time, he saw that they were coming, and he turned and ran into the woods, and that started a manhunt. They searched the home, the LaPlante home, and they found a number of incriminating pieces of evidence, which included the .22 caliber bullet casing, which matched the 2 found in the Gustafson home. They found the gun used to shoot Priscilla. That was found by Daniel's stepfather in the glove compartment of a trashed out Jeep Cherokee that they had on their property. LaPlante had a pair of Converse sneakers, which matched the print in the flower bed outside of the home where he was probably staking out through the front windows. They found that in his closet, and they found a sock with saliva on it, which police believe to have been used to gag Priscilla during the attack. As well as a number of other items to link him to those crimes.
Okay.
So LaPlante was considered to be armed and dangerous when he fled, and there was an all-points bulletin issued by the police, and a manhunt for him ensued. And that's when there was a state police helicopter, and there was police dogs, and like 50 state and local officers trying to find him.
Dang.
And a few towns over from Townsend, Massachusetts, LaPlante broke into a woman's home and kidnapped her in her vehicle. So he made her drive around. And luckily, that woman did escape during that time. And LaPlante was spotted by someone who had seen his photograph in the news. So they kind of honed in on that area of the town. Police ended up finding him the next day around 6:30 p.m. And he had been hiding in a dumpster in a lumber yard in Ayer, Massachusetts, which is about 11 miles from Townsend. And he was arrested without incident. But he was said to have been laughing hysterically, which police officers found bewildering.
No. I don't know if bewildering is the word I would choose, but it's definitely fucked up.
Yeah. They also found a gun on him when they apprehended him, and he was subsequently charged for the murders of Priscilla, Abigail, and William. And don't forget, Priscilla was pregnant at the time. He received a range of other charges related to the crimes, and these were also on top of the charges for those crimes he committed against the Andrews family, because he was not convicted of that yet either. Those charges were pending in court.
Okay.
You know, on his release from those, like on bail, he committed these murders and rape. So in court, Daniel pled not guilty to the 3 murder charges. His trial began in October of 1988. Over a year later, by which time he was already 18, and he was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation in which he was found to be fit to stand trial.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
During the trial, the prosecution called as many as 50 witnesses, many of which were Daniel's own family members. And it sounded like this case was, rock solid against him, given the evidence and the powerful testimony. How can you defend that?
I mean, the only thing you can do as a defense attorney, it is your job to protect the accused's constitutional rights.
Yep.
If they decide to go to trial, they have every right to, but there's not always a lot to work with.
Nope. Especially in this trial. Yeah.
Yeah. The best you can do is just hope that you represent them to your, what is it? What is the standard? Zealous representation of your client. So,
ooh.
Yeah. It is your duty to zealously represent.
Yeah, and Daniel came across as extremely unlikable throughout the trial, if you can imagine. He showed no remorse. He had a constant smirk on his face. And everyone in that room got a bad vibe from him, everyone.
That's
not great when you're on trial.
No. Not at all great. I wonder what his attorney thought about him.
The defense did not exactly have an easy time defending him. No, his lawyer attempted to argue that the evidence found at the LaPlante home was, circumstantial and could be linked to another member of that family. But Daniel's brothers and stepfather all had alibis for the time of the murder. He was SOL. In an attempt to get some leniency, Daniel's lawyer spoke about his bad childhood in which he was abused sexually and psychologically by different adults, including his father.
Yeah, it's sometimes it can be incredibly helpful, and sometimes it's better just to be quiet.
Yes. Yeah. So, nonetheless, Daniel was found guilty on all counts after 5 hours of deliberation. The judge...
Only 5 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
The judge sentenced him to 3 life sentences to be served consecutively.
Good.
He's currently incarcerated at MCI Norfolk Prison in Norfolk, Massachusetts. And since 1989, after his conviction, he's appealed his conviction several times. His latest one was in 2017 after Massachusetts changed how juveniles were sentenced.
Okay. That makes sense.
And during that appeal, he was found not to have been remorseful for his crimes. So he was still formally resentenced to his original term of 3 consecutive life sentences. So he does have the opportunity.
That's probably why he got the resentencing. Okay.
Yeah, and he does have the opportunity for parole after 45 years in prison, so that will be in the year 2035.
It's not that far away.
Not that far away, and he'll be in his 50s, I believe.
So reasonably middle-aged.
The end. That is the story of half of the story you knew, and then half the story you didn't.
Half the story I absolutely did not know of Daniel LaPlante.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. I think you did a great job. I had no idea. I mean, I knew what I thought was enough to know about Daniel LaPlante. And guaranteed I heard about him from another podcast.
Guaranteed. Oh, yeah, guaranteed. But holy fuck balls?
But holy fuck balls. I actually think about him a lot. Him and the Spider-Man I think about him and the Spider-Man of Denver a lot because it's
listeners, look up that story of the Spider-Man. If you want, if you thought this story was gross in terms of frogging, look up that story.
Frogging? Who knew that was a word? Frogging.
I didn't either. I did not know. And then Urban Dictionary set me straight.
I mean, thanks, Urban Dictionary. I start every day by thanking Urban Dictionary. But I just mean if you truly take a second to think about somebody living in your house without you knowing it.
And I know, Miss, you've never seen the movie Parasite, but that movie
is one that I can't watch.
You could watch it.
Could I? Okay.
Yes,
well,
you
maybe
could.
I will. Maybe when I'm a real person
movie.
after the bar.
Like it's like an amazing movie. It won a couple years ago.
Wasn't that an Korean or? It was a Korean movie? Okay. It
is
won
spectacular.
all the awards, right?
Yeah, it won Best Picture at the Oscars and Best Director.
Yeah.
It is spectacular. But frogging is a part of it.
If you say I can watch it, then I can watch it.
Oh, you sure could. It's a brilliant film.
I just, for 1 second, thinking, even the idea, even if you told me someone was in my house when I wasn't there, it's so intimate.
Yes.
It's such a direct personal violation of just like basic decency that you don't really think of most of the time. You're not sitting thinking, I really hope somebody's not living in my walls. Like
I really hope I don't have a crawl space I don't know about in my house.
Right? I mean, I think crawl spaces should be eliminated. They're only for crime. I mean,
they're only for crime and Christmas tree, like artificial Christmas trees storage.
Your mom kept your son under the steps. That's right.
And that's the thing. What's really fucked up, if we're being honest, anytime I read about John Wayne Gacy, I think about my crawl space.
I think about your crawl space because my house did not have one.
And I'm like, that fucks up my memories. And I don't have that many to begin with.
No, you have so few, and they're not good. Every single time I think of John Wayne Gacy, I think of the crawl space at your house because I'm like, oh, you could fit some bodies in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And guaranteed that house is long gone. Yes. We've sold it many years ago, but almost a decade ago. And guaranteed there's a car bumper still in there in the way back from some like 1980 Oldsmobile Cutlass or some shit. Yeah.
Just your parents knocking over shit and just throwing old bumpers in there.
Because that crawl space scared the shit out of me, and it never got easier as the years went on.
No, you didn't live in the crawl space. No. I mean, it was kind of like a crawl space.
It had no floor. It was dirt, and I didn't live in that crawl space. Who am I, Harry Potter? But yes, that is the story of Daniel LaPlante.
Kevin,
and I'm glad that you didn't know half of that. That actually is like half of a victory. No,
seriously. I mean, I feel like Daniel LaPlante, if you listen to true crime podcasts, you're going to come across him. The times that I've come across him, it's only been that first time. So that was really great. I was completely taken aback, and it's more horrible than I remembered. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And now you know. Now you know. And see, you still got that information. You still got that story from a true crime podcast. It just happens to be ours.
Yes, it happens to be ours, and we thank you for it.
Thanks, babe.
No, thank you, babe. Can we just be that annoying couple? Thanks, babe.
You're welcome, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Will your spoopy story lighten the mood, or?
Yeah, I mean it's it's not light, but it's about a long-suffering woman. So it'll be nice.
There's not enough stories of women suffering in this art history.
You never hear it because it never happens.
You never hear it. You never hear it. It's about time for some representation.
Right.
It matters.
Okay, so decades before the Salem witch trial hysteria lived the long-suffering Eunice Goody Cole.
Eunice Goody Cole?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Historian Emerson Baker defines witchcraft as, quote, a satanic pact that an individual makes with the devil in order to gain power and knowledge from Satan, the enemy of God and mankind, end quote. Puritans, mainly their daughters, were the main contributors to the witch panic in the early years of our country's establishment. And then from 1656 to 1680, Eunice would be tried for, quote, familiarity with the devil, end quote, aka witchcraft, 3 different times. She'd been publicly whipped, jailed, and stripped of her citizenship because she was accused of being a witch. Most women of her class were called good wife, usually abbreviated to Goody, which was a polite form of address to a woman of lower social standing in the 1600s. So you and me, we would have both been Goody. We would have both been Goodies.
Goody.
Like, she's just, instead of saying like, oh, it's my best Judy, we would be saying, oh, this is my best Goody, Kevy. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I didn't know why everybody was called Goody.
No, me neither. And I've definitely heard that before.
Yeah, mainly in Salem witch trial cases. Eunice was born around 1590 in England, and she and her husband William came to the New World as indentured servants of Matthew Craddock, the wealthy Puritan fancy man from London, and he became the first governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony.
Okay.
And when they got to the U.S., they got out of their servitude by promising to pay Craddock the £10 to release them from their service. There's a whole side story involving the payment for their service that they absolutely never made or only made temporarily. Interestingly, upon their arrival to New England, they were granted 2 acres of land just for showing up, but they declined it because they were followers of the Reverend John Wheelwright and followed him to New Hampshire, where they were soon granted 40 acres of land. So boom, Massachusetts.
Boom.
How dare you with your pittance, with your 2 acres of land. Duh. Reverend Wheelwright was an interesting guy. He was banished from Massachusetts for his belief in antinomianism.
I've never heard that word.
Which is a doctrine according to which Christians are freed by grace from the necessity of obeying Mosaic law. So basically, because Jesus died for your sins, you don't have to follow the tenets very closely of the religion. I mean, you should, but you don't have to. So they rejected the notion of obedience. And to them, the good life flowed from their inner work of the Holy Spirit. So it wasn't like belonging to a church or following a single person. It was basically you were a good person because Jesus died. And as long as you were good with the Holy Spirit, then you were good. Like in a time of the Puritans, it was incredibly radical. And like I said, they followed him to Hampton, New Hampshire, William, Eunice's wife, Eunice's husband was a carpenter. And by all accounts, Eunice was a difficult and unlikable person, which probably contributed to her legal problems. She gained a reputation as a grumpy, argumentative person and frequently got into fights over issues like property boundaries and roaming livestock. In 1645, Eunice was brought to court for her, quote, slanderous speeches, end quote, against her neighbors. And she ended up sitting in the stocks for days, which did not at all improve her behavior.
No, I wouldn't imagine that. No.
In the 1650s, the stakes were escalated and people started accusing her of being responsible for their personal misfortunes, like the deaths of their children, sinking ships, and ailing cattle. Eunice made several other court appearances in 1648, 1651, and 1654 for unknown charges. So anything at all that happens in Hampton, New Hampshire is blamed on Eunice because she's a mean old bitch and no other reason. That's it. She was just grumpy and people couldn't handle it. In 1656, Eunice was charged with familiarity with the devil for the first time.
Oh, for the first time. Yeah.
For the first time. This was a big-ass deal because witchcraft was a capital offense, and Widow Ann Hibbins had just been executed in Boston for witchcraft not long before this, so it was very fresh in everyone's mind. And the quote of the time was, "If any man or woman be a witch that is hath or consulteth with a familiar spirit, they shall be put to death." She faced charges that included bringing sickness on people she feuded with, killing their animals through mysterious ways, and even knowing secrets of people she could only know through the aid of the devil. Obviously, Kevin.
I'm here for that, yes.
And then, as per usual, neighborhood children claimed they had seen her take the form of a dog, a cat, and an eagle. One of these things is not like the other.
Right.
There's two mammals and a bird. They said that she had seen the devil in the form of a black dwarf with a red cap sitting at her table. And I reject this completely because that's bullshit. You just saw a black dwarf and decided that he was a devil related to her for no reason. And that's some bullshit.
Yes.
So also a man whose cattle had eaten grass on Goody's property claimed that she had put a curse on them because one of the calves died during calf birth, which happened constantly.
Yes.
And she was also blamed for the loss of a fishing boat when it sank with everyone on board.
This is...
So she busy.
Yeah, this seems just like hateration.
Yeah, the case against her relied on signs and evidence explained in guidebooks that had helped people identify witchcraft, including one published by King James I of England. Witches were identified in two ways. First, witches were identified by their association with animals, especially cats. This is because after a witch makes a pact with Satan, he gives them an animal familiar or a demon in animal form. It's like their own personal demon animal. Second, a witch could be recognized for her witch's mark or teat. Today, this would be interpreted as a skin tag or a mole.
Shit.
But yeah. But in the 1600s, a witch's mark was the place where an animal familiar fed on the witch's blood. So if you were Italian, like the people in my family who get skin tags everywhere, you were fucked.
Remember that conversation we had a couple episodes ago about how you would not survive in any other time period?
Yes.
Just add the 1600s to that list too.
No. I mean, seriously, this time, what? I love cats. I'm single. I live
Red hair.
alone. in the red hair, automatically a witch, automatically Satan's worshiper.
Truly.
Just because of the red hair. I would be unmarried, and therefore satanic. I would be in the stocks by 12, dead by 14 max. Her neighbors testified that while they were discussing the possibility that Eunice might be responsible for a child's death, heard something scrape against the boards of the windows, end quote, but they looked about and could see nothing. During one of her public whippings, the constable saw a blue thing like unto a teat hanging down about 3/4 of an inch long and not very thick. When the court called for a group of women to inspect the mark on the witch, they said it wasn't there because Eunice had scratched it off her body. The court declared definitively that Eunice was guilty of familiarity with the devil, but whether Eunice was actually convicted of witchcraft is unknown. Some say she was, but others believe the court convicted her of a lesser crime because it didn't order her execution. She was ordered to be whipped and imprisoned for long as the court thought appropriate. And the court thought that life was appropriate. She was 64 years old at the time, and she was known as the condemned witch of Hampton. But, I mean, I don't think she could have been convicted of witchcraft because that was like automatic death penalty. And you were killed. It wasn't like today. You were killed right away. Goody Cole was confined to a bleak, cold Boston jail cell. But about 15 years later, her 88-year-old husband, William, complained that he couldn't manage his affairs without his wife's help. Instead of releasing her, the court sold his land and paid his debts from the receipts. I guess meaning paid his debts from the remainder. Eunice petitioned several times for her release to go home and care for her husband. And in 1671, she was allowed to return to Hampton, where she learned that her husband had died in 1662. So 9 years earlier, her husband had died. Without a husband or property, elderly Eunice was at a loss. So the town of Hampton erected a hut for Eunice Cole, and the town fathers demanded that the citizens of Hampton, who hated and feared her, provide for her care, and the townspeople took care, supplying her with food and fuel for her fire. Within 2 years, old fears and stories of Eunice hurting or killing people and livestock began, in addition to rumors of her being a shapeshifter and having conversations openly with the devil and trying to steal children, all started again. This time she was accused of attempting to lure a young girl into living with her, and she supposedly took various animal shapes, and she caused her neighbor's oven to produce a foul-tasting bread. So her neighbor baked some bad bread. And for that, Eunice paid the price. God, this poor woman. Seriously, she was just an old bitch. Like, she just wanted to be an old bitch, and people were like, oh, she must be a witch then. Yeah,
not bitch, but witch.
Seriously, just leave her be. After gathering testimonies in 1673, the jury decided again that Eunice was not legally guilty of witchcraft, but strongly suspected her of familiarity with the devil. So she wasn't convicted, and the bitchy townspeople had to keep taking care of her. In 1680, the townspeople made one final attempt to have Eunice convicted. They gathered up all of her previous charges and added on new ones. And once again, she went to court. The court, however, was unpersuaded, and Eunice was allowed to return to her home.
Good.
In October of 1680, townspeople were gossiping, as they were wont to do, that no one had seen Eunice in several days. And a group of people went to her home, and they found her dead. You mean an elderly woman in the 1600s couldn't do it alone?
She was a witch.
She was a fucking witch. Legend holds that the townspeople dug her a shallow grave and tossed her body in it, then attached a horseshoe for luck to a stake and drove it through her grave, the only sure way they knew to exorcise the devil. John Greenleaf Whittier immortalized her in 1864 with his poems The Changeling and The Wreck of Rivermouth. When Hampton celebrated its 300-year-old anniversary, a group was formed for the sole purpose of redressing the wrongs done to her. The group was called the Society in Hampton for the Apprehension of Those Falsely Accusing Eunice Goody Cole of Having Familiarity with the Devil. That was the name of the
A little
group.
wordy. That's a little
wordy. It was
wordy.
1938, so I guess they just didn't have an editor due to the incoming Second World War. A ceremony in 1938 was held to exonerate Eunice Cole, and her name was officially cleared of all charges of witchcraft. Replicas of her trial documents were burned as a form of an apology, and the ashes were mixed from soil from the old Cole farm, then stored in an urn in the Tuck Museum as a reminder of her terrible tragedy. So that is the story of Eunice Goody Cole, the thrice-accused witch of New Hampshire.
Oh, man.
The suffering bitch of New Hampshire.
Oh, Eunice.
Yeah.
Your life.
She died before the witch panic in 1692. She was sort of the precursor for all of that nonsense.
She was the precursed. Boom.
She was a precursed. I just thought, I just pictured this woman just the whole time being like, this is what we're doing.
This is my life.
It.
This is my life. God, I wish I was actually a witch.
Right? The whole time, that's what I would be doing. I wish I was a witch so I could do something about this. Because your nonsense is
you fuckers are so lucky I'm not actually a witch.
Extremely lucky that I'm not an actual witch, because I would kill you. So this was my the witchy part was the intertwining of our the Massachusetts part of our episodes.
Yeah, and and of course, again, we don't plan this, so we just have great.
Not ever.
No, we just have good story connections that we
do. It's what's it called? Synchronicity.
That was a great story, miss. I'm so happy you told me. I'm so sorry about her life.
I feel so bad for her. She came here as an indentured servant, so it was never going to go well.
No, not never. Not never.
Not never. Her husband wasn't that great, so she never had a chance of being respected, which made her being accused of a witch that much easier. I know without a doubt I would be a fucking witch.
You would be a witch.
Listen, in America, we didn't burn any witches. We only hanged them or drowned them or crushed their chests.
Or crushed them, yeah.
Rocks. But I would absolutely have been hung or drowned or crushed with rocks.
You would have, and there is no doubt in my mind, you would have been.
No, there's not. There's not a single time where I think I would be okay.
I love this episode. This is a great episode.
I do too. I feel like we were definitely on the same wavelength.
Oh, yes.
Between the ghost that is living in the walls, the living ghost, and then the living witch.
Yeah.
In New England, I think we definitely had something going on here.
So, Miss, where can they find us?
Yeah. They can find us on Instagram at Creepy InQueeries Pod. If you want to send us an email with suggestions or corrections, you can contact us at creepyinquiriespod@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. We would love to see what you think, even if it's not great. Although I will say we just want those 5-star reviews.
Hell fucking yes. Don't give us any of that 1-star shit.
Yeah, no sense in saying we want anything else.
No, we deserve better.
If you're listening right now, we appreciate that you've sat here with us.
Yeah.
And you've been listening, and we are incredibly grateful just to be able to do the show every week. So.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And I am so glad we had another great episode. We're so excited for everything else we're going to have down the pike. And we drop new content every Wednesday. And so until next time, what we say at the end of every episode. Goodbye.